back to Friends Around the Tap. Today I'm here with
Barry
and Charnene. We're doing something a little different tonight. We're at a remote location.
My home, my house.
And we're going to give you some insight to who we are. So, little interview, couple questions, and this way you can understand what we're trying to do with Friends Around the Tap and what we're doing with our individual businesses. I think that's the best way to start off. Now, in true Friends Around the Tap fashion, we do have our drink. And tonight it's Smith & Cross, a London traditional Jamaican rum. It is 114 proof.
Fire!
Literally.
So we do have our drink for today.
Salute.
Gotta give it
Oh no, I'm mad at the noise.
a little bite, and
It's a lot of bite. It's a lot of bite.
yeah. So we'll start off with the questions.
So, we're interviewing Ashton and Pipetown Traders. And where did Pipetown Traders come from? And before you answer that, Ashton and I have known each other since high school. So I remember after high school, after college, we were in college, and this guy opens up a pager store, an electronic store. And I'm still running around trying to figure out life.
Old.
And, yes, but it's okay. Season.
32 years old, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
32.
Absolutely. But entrepreneur at like 19, 20 years old. Fast forward 10, 15 years, you are a general contractor. Fast forward. Now you have Pipetown Traders. Let's bridge the gap. What happened?
Okay, so all of that was building on the next thing. The beginning was the start of my business was not the start of my sales career. I had several other jobs before that. My sales jobs led up to where I am now. So with the real estate investing and the contracting, I wanted to do something that just basically I sold smiles. As a contractor, you don't sell smiles. I come to your house, your wall is moldy or whatever, and I have to fix it. That's not fun. But this allowed for me to sell smiles. Pipetown initially started off as being the concept was sparkling wine. Then my lovely, lovely wife, Monique, came to me and said, well, why don't you do beer? I got flustered, came back to her a couple days later and said, that's a smart idea. There isn't a large beer selection in D.C. We lucked up and were able to be a wholesaler, which allowed for us to sell in D.C., sell to the public, and sell to other businesses. The name Pipetown Traders is quirky, part of my D.C. connection. It ties back to the name of the area that the area we're in is Capitol Hill. Prior to it being Capitol Hill or Hill East, it was Pipetown. So that kind of my little connection with DC, I love the history of it. So that's where that came from. And then from there, we've just been really blessed and lucky to have been able to get a hold of some very, very nice high-end beers, quality ciders, and some good wine.
Sweet.
That's dope. You have like a lot of stuff. Like how many? Well, I know you probably don't even know how many beers you have because you have so many. But I know you have what, like 20-something ciders.
We have, at this point, we're probably at about 23 ciders and mead. Mead being the smaller percentage of about maybe 10%. Maybe less than that, more than that. But yeah, we have more ciders than anybody else in the city at this point in time. Mm-hmm. Beers, our beer selection changes every month. Our beer selection changes. What we have on tap for growlers definitely changes, right, as well as our beer selection in the walls. We try to offer beer within the showroom that's beer that a bar or restaurant wouldn't take. We like mainstream stuff that they would take, but a lot of times they're beers because of the alcohol content or because of the style. You wouldn't normally get introduced to it. Sours are popular now. They weren't popular a year ago,
right,
when we had sours. Mm-hmm. Some unique German beers or beers from Switzerland. They're not beers that a bar would take on because it doesn't meet with what they're trying to do within their bar, their genre, what they're looking for. Like IPAs were popular, sours weren't. We do a lot with Belgians. We just have a large assortment of beers.
Right. Now, you just mentioned the growler, so in your store, you're set up for taps so folks can come in, bring their own growlers, or you're selling the growlers. How does that work?
Well, for people who don't know, a growler is basically a glass jug of 64 ounces. And we sell them in 64 ounces and 32 ounces. And we have at this point 12 different taps. Out of the 12 taps, we have 3 taps that are committed hard cider. So what it allows for you to do is get beer and cider at its freshest point. When you get it bottled, it travels. You don't know how fresh it is. It's in the bottle. Usually the keg offering is a lot fresher. That's why you get that when you go to a restaurant. The beers are fresher off keg. The ciders are fresher off keg. But most of our stuff is pretty fresh anyway. But that's usually like the early entry point for a lot of people. They like that. IPAs are definitely hoppier on tap than they are in the bottle.
Okay. So it's so many like beers and so many ciders, because I go to your store like every week. Beers from all over the world and, local stuff. Like, how do you let your customers know, like, hey, this is what we have in the store, and how do they know, like, when stuff changes out on your taps?
It's a couple ways. Right now, we have a big push on social media, so you find out about us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That's the standard. We're working on the website so we can introduce you to more information as to what we do, so we're increasing that. It's kind of difficult because we're not a liquor store. We're a wholesaler. So per DC... Wholesaler first. Okay. So per DC law, we can sell to the public, but we're not a retailer, so we don't market to you as a retailer, so we don't confuse you. So one of the laws that we have to stay within is that we can't do tastings. Right. So that kind of, slows us down on some things, but usually it's really more of a conversation, intro, relationship, and trying to walk people through what we have and showing them that, to some degree we have the best beer, cider, and some wines that no one in the city knows about. We have like the best stuff, but a lot of people don't know about it. So it's been a slow learning curve in trying to get that out.
So that's a challenge.
Yeah. A major challenge.
Now, do you have folks come through the store all the time? I'm sure you're starting to see favorites. How do you let them know when something new is coming out?
A lot of times it's the updates on social media that tells them that new stuff is coming out. We definitely alert people when we get in our big inventory every month or so. We definitely update and let people know that, and that's when we get our regulars in. A lot of it is conversation. When people come in, I try my best to be there on Saturdays, and if you buy X, I try to let you know about Y and Z, what's available. I like to see what people choose because then it helps us to steer what we're going to get. And there's also always, there's always that unusual thing that we tell people about, like Grim. We got in a case of Grim, and a few special customers were able to get a hold of it because it was one of those things that was a specialty item that we only had 12 bottles of, and that you were not going to ever see again.
Wait, is that a bottle of that? I had that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you do. I hope so.
Just checking.
Check your inventory.
Right,
Check in. They're going fast.
Didn't you tell me about you work with embassies as well?
We do work with embassies.
Who's the one I know? Somebody did something for where you were able to get in their beer. And I thought that was kind of...
it's funny, and they called me the other day. Norwegian embassy.
Wow.
Norwegian embassy. We had beers from Norway. They called me. The problem was they actually hit us hours before their party, and we did not have cases of beer for like 100 people.
Oh, wow.
But we had beer for them, but we didn't have enough for the party.
Norwegian beer,
right? Exactly. I mean, it's that kind of randomness that we get, and we're starting to market to more embassies, just because if you're from one of the countries, which we represent a lot of countries, and you want to have that beer for a wedding or for an event, we have it.
Right.
We have it. And a lot of times it's favorites in their country. So it's something that's pretty cool if you're in America and you have your Norwegian beer at your wedding. That was one of the things we did, was a wedding with Norwegian beer. That's really cool. And it's a tie back to home for people who are from Norway, but it also introduces their friends to what they have, what they drink at home.
Yeah, just like a real quick story with that. A friend of mine came into the shop and purchased I want to say it was a beer and a barley wine from Sweden, and he works with a young lady from Sweden, and he took that stuff to her at work. Do you know she was so happy? She kind of like shed a tear because, like you just said,
Wow.
people are kind of like, wow, that's from my home. Like, this is really from my home, not something that you just bought, from like Whole Foods and, brought to me. But this is something that she knew and she recognized. So, it made her feel special. So I think that's pretty cool to carry, just all different types of beer from all over the world.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty dope.
The fact that you have access to that.
all
that's
Right.
impressive.
How about that?
Australia, Norway,
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Italy.
Italy,
We've
Spain.
done the Friends Around the Table.
Mhm. Yeah. We've done the Friends Around the Tap Italy edition.
Right. New Zealand, right? We just
Right.
did New Zealand.
I mean, we have
Yeah.
domestic stuff too,
Yeah.
and what's funny is we're actually having people come in and ask, do we have stuff from their state now?
I can believe it. Okay.
So, I mean, it's a cool situation. It's not where we want it to be right now, but it is really cool because people get a chance to explore and try things that they normally would not have gotten access to.
That's what's up. I love that. And if just to kind of close this out, what's your vision? Where do you see Pipetown Traders going?
It changes. It changes because this business is very new to me, and I'm learning as I go. Right now, I see us being the lead in small batch and craft beverages. That's the goal. Be it the sodas that we offer, which are really hot and interesting, non-alcoholic, alcoholic. We also offer a rum that has solidly, it wasn't my thought when we first brought it on that it was going to be as big as it is, but it is fabulous. And it's been growing and growing. And my goal is to get in that small batch craft items that people are solidly interested in.
Do you have anything else?
No, I just think it's dope. And, for everybody, I know him through his wife and, so I've known him for quite a few years and I'm just so happy and so proud, of you that you're doing this and you took that leap and you really kind of, said, hey, some of it was, I'm going to learn as I go. Some of it was, it was trial and error. Oh, I can't do this. I can do this. So I think it's real cool. And I think people should really, especially if you're in the DMV, go down to Pipetown and, learn something new. Eamon's there Wednesday through Saturday.
Yeah.
And he
what are
knows
the hours?
everything.
What's the hours?
Yeah.
Hours, okay.
Yeah.
So we do, because it is our showroom and not a retail location, we
Right.
don't have a lot of walkthrough.
Right.
Wednesdays we're 4 to 9. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 12 to 9. And I'm usually there on Saturdays. I try my best to be there to kind of talk to people and walk them through stuff. And Eamon's extremely, extremely knowledgeable and helpful.
Yeah.
So please take advantage of him too.
He knows so much stuff. It's crazy. Like,
Scary.
it's almost spooky.
Downright scary.
Yeah.
And before we really close out, because you're still doing the construction.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to make sure I explained that because when he says I'm only there on Saturdays.
Right.
So now one of the projects you're working on is you're actually helping someone build their next bar, or they're looking at different ideas for some type of a restaurant / something.
I mean, we've
Entertainment.
done some of that, house renovations. We definitely have offered up wood for restaurants in the area where we have reclaimed wood, kind of like what we have in our showroom. So we've had a couple of guys who come through for reclaimed wood, which has been kind of cool. So yeah, I still do the construction piece. I'm still looking to buy more homes, which is a big piece, a big part of my time. And but yeah, so I try to be at Pipetown as much as possible. But Saturdays is usually my open day, which mainly is taken away from kid time. But I got to get it in.
Absolutely, absolutely.